So, are you wondering how to start with classic books? Are you wondering which are the best classic books to read? Dear Kitty, you are not alone. Today, let's get started on Arsène Lupin, the Gentleman Thief, a story by French writer Maurice Leblanc.
To keep track of your classic books, we provide a reading journal. Grab your copy by following the link below. This journal also makes a lovely gift for book lovers. Just saying.
In the beginning, let us start a collection of the most popular classic books of the moment. In our classic bookshelf tour, we will hear classic book summaries or classic book audio intros. Subscribe. Thumbs up. Hello and welcome to the Classic Book Chest. Classic book recommendations for beginners, a classic bookshelf tour. Do you have a hint for Kitty? Then add a comment about your favorite or most inspiring classic books, and stay tuned.
The Extraordinary Adventures of Arsène Lupin, Gentleman Burglar. By Maurice Leblanc. The Arrest of Arsène Lupin.
Then, addressing me, she added, "And you, Monsieur d'Andrézy, you are on intimate terms with the captain. Surely you know something." I should have been delighted had I possessed any information that would interest Miss Nelly. She was one of those magnificent creatures who inevitably attract attention in every assembly. Wealth and beauty form an irresistible combination, and Nelly possessed both. Educated in Paris under the care of a French mother, she was now going to visit her father, the millionaire underdown of Chicago. She was accompanied by one of her friends, Lady Jerland. At first, I had decided to open a flirtation with her. But, in the rapidly growing intimacy of the voyage, I was soon impressed by her charming manner and my feelings became too deep and reverential for a mere flirtation. Moreover, she accepted my attentions with a certain degree of favor. She condescended to laugh at my witticisms and display an interest in my stories. Yet I felt that I had a rival in the person of a young man with quiet and refined tastes, and it struck me, at times, that she preferred his taciturn humor to my Parisian frivolity. He formed one in the circle of admirers that surrounded Miss Nelly at the time she addressed to me the foregoing question. We were all comfortably seated in our deck chairs. The storm of the preceding evening had cleared the sky. The weather was now delightful. "I have no definite knowledge, mademoiselle," I replied, "but cannot we, ourselves, investigate the mystery quite as well as the detective Ganimard, the personal enemy of Arsène Lupin?" Oh, you are progressing very fast, monsieur." "Not at all, mademoiselle. In the first place, let me ask, do you find the problem a complicated one?" "Very complicated. Have you forgotten the key we hold for the solution to the problem?" "What key?" "In the first place, Lupin calls himself Monsieur R. Rather vague information," she replied. "Secondly, he is traveling alone. Does that help you?" she asked. "Thirdly, he is blonde. Well, then we have only to peruse the passenger list, and proceed by process of elimination." I had that list in my pocket. I took it out and glanced through it. Then I remarked, "I find that there are only 13 men on the passenger list whose names begin with the letter R." "Only 13? Yes, in the first cabin. And of those 13, I find that 9 of them are accompanied by women, children or servants. That leaves only 4 who are traveling alone. First, the Marquis de Reverden, secretary to the American ambassador," interrupted Miss Nelly. "I know him. Major Rawson," I continued. "He is my uncle," someone said. "Morn, Revolta." "Here," exclaimed an Italian, whose face was concealed beneath a heavy black beard. Miss Nelly burst into laughter, and exclaimed, "That gentleman can scarcely be called a blonde." "Very well, then," I said, "we are forced to the conclusion that the guilty party is the last one on the list." "What is his name?" "Morn. Rosaine. Does anyone know him?" No one answered, but Miss Nelly turned to the taciturn young man, whose attentions to her had annoyed me, and said, "Well, Monsieur Rosaine, why do you not answer?" All eyes were now turned upon him. He was a blonde. I must confess that I myself felt a shock of surprise, and the profound silence that followed her question indicated that the others present also viewed the situation with a feeling of sudden alarm. However, the idea was an absurd one, because the gentleman in question presented an air of the most perfect innocence. "Why do I not answer?" he said. "Because, considering my name, my position as a solitary traveler and the color of my hair, I have already reached the same conclusion, and now think that I should be arrested." He presented a strange appearance as he uttered these words. His thin lips were drawn closer than usual and his face was ghastly pale, whilst his eyes were streaked with blood. Of course, he was joking, yet his appearance and attitude impressed us strangely. "But you have not the wound," said Miss Nelly, naively. "That is true," he replied, "I lack the wound." Then he pulled up his sleeve, removing his cuff, and showed us his arm. But that action did not deceive me. He had shown us his left arm, and I was on the point of calling his attention to the fact, when another incident diverted our attention. Lady Jerland, Miss Nelly's friend, came running towards us in a state of great excitement, exclaiming, "My jewels, my pearls. Someone has stolen them all." No, they were not all gone, as we soon found out. The thief had taken only part of them, a very curious thing. Of the diamond sunbursts, jeweled pendants, bracelets and necklaces, the thief had taken, not the largest but the finest and most valuable stones. The mountings were lying upon the table. I saw them there, despoiled of their jewels, like flowers from which the beautiful colored petals had been ruthlessly plucked. And this theft must have been committed at the time Lady Jerland was taking her tea, in broad daylight, in a stateroom opening on a much frequented corridor. Moreover, the thief had been obliged to force open the door of the stateroom, search for the jewel case, which was hidden at the bottom of a hat box, open it, select his booty and remove it from the mountings. Of course, all the passengers instantly reached the same conclusion. It was the work of Arsène Lupin. That day, at the dinner table, the seats to the right and left of Rosaine remained vacant, and, during the evening, it was rumored that the captain had placed him under arrest, which information produced a feeling of safety and relief. We breathed once more. That evening, we resumed our games and dances. Miss Nelly, especially, displayed a spirit of thoughtless gaiety which convinced me that if Rosaine's attentions had been agreeable to her in the beginning, she had already forgotten them. Her charm and good humor completed my conquest. At midnight, under a bright moon, I declared my devotion with an ardor that did not seem to displease her. But, next day, to our general amazement, Rosaine was at liberty. We learned that the evidence against him was not sufficient. He had produced documents that were perfectly regular, which showed that he was the son of a wealthy merchant of Bordeaux. Besides, his arms did not bear the slightest trace of a wound. "Documents, certificates of birth," exclaimed the enemies of Rosaine. "Of course, Arsène Lupin will furnish you as many as you desire. And as to the wound, he never had it, or he has removed it." Then it was proven that, at the time of the theft, Rosaine was promenading on the deck. To which fact, his enemies replied that a man like Arsène Lupin could commit a crime without being actually present. And then, apart from all other circumstances, there remained one point which even the most skeptical could not answer. Who except Rosaine was traveling alone, was a blonde, and bore a name beginning with R? To whom did the telegram point, if it were not Rosaine? And when Rosaine, a few minutes before breakfast, came boldly toward our group, Miss Nelly and Lady Jerland arose and walked away. An hour later, a manuscript circular was passed from hand to hand amongst the sailors, the stewards, and the passengers of all classes. It announced that Morne, Louis Rosaine offered a reward of 10,000 francs for the discovery of Arsène Lupin or other person in possession of the stolen jewels. And if no one assists me, I will unmask the scoundrel myself, declared Rosaine. Rosaine against Arsène Lupin, or rather, according to current opinion, Arsène Lupin himself against Arsène Lupin. The contest promised to be interesting. Nothing developed during the next 2 days. We saw Rosaine wandering about, day and night, searching, questioning, investigating. The captain, also, displayed commendable activity. He caused the vessel to be searched from stem to stern, ransacked every stateroom under the plausible theory that the jewels might be concealed anywhere, except in the thief's own room. I suppose they will find out something soon, remarked Miss Nelly to me. He may be a wizard, but he cannot make diamonds and pearls become invisible. Certainly not, I replied, but he should examine the lining of our hats and vests and everything we carry with us. Then, exhibiting my Kodak, a 9x12 with which I had been photographing her in various poses, I added, in an apparatus no larger than that, a person could hide all of Lady Jerland's jewels. He could pretend to take pictures and no one would suspect the game. But I have heard it said that every thief leaves some clue behind him. That may be generally true, I replied, but there is one exception, Arsène Lupin. Why? Because he concentrates his thoughts not only on the theft, but on all the circumstances connected with it that could serve as a clue to his identity. A few days ago, you were more confident. Yes, but since I have seen him at work. And what do you think about it now? She asked. Well, in my opinion, we are wasting our time. And, as a matter of fact, the investigation had produced no result. But, in the meantime, the captain's watch had been stolen. He was furious. He quickened his efforts and watched Rosaine more closely than before. But, on the following day, the watch was found in the second officer's collar box. This incident caused considerable astonishment, and displayed the humorous side of Arsène Lupin, burglar though he was, but dilettante as well. He combined business with pleasure. He reminded us of the author who almost died in a fit of laughter provoked by his own play. Certainly, he was an artist in his particular line of work, and whenever I saw Rosaine, gloomy and reserved, and thought of the double role that he was playing, I accorded him a certain measure of admiration. On the following evening, the officer on deck duty heard groans emanating from the darkest corner of the ship. He approached and found a man lying there, his head enveloped in a thick grey scarf and his hands tied together with a heavy cord. It was Rosaine. He had been assaulted, thrown down and robbed. A card, pinned to his coat, bore these words, Arsène Lupin accepts with pleasure the 10,000 francs offered by Morne. Rosaine. As a matter of fact, the stolen pocketbook contained 20,000 francs.
Classic Book Chest. Subscribe. Thumbs up.
To keep track of your classic books, we provide a reading journal. Grab your copy by following the link below. This journal also makes a lovely gift for book lovers. Just saying.